So welcome to a brand new section, and in the last lecture I mentioned that we'd effectively exhausted the free trial period. So what am I talking about, and why is that in fact the case? Well, up to this point we're about 3 hours into the course, I think, and I'm sure you'd agree that we've looked at a ton of stuff. We looked at, of course, the settings, we looked at everything to do with the online store, and of course recently we've been focusing on the products. And so we now have a store that we can really be proud of, and of course your knowledge is taking leaps and bounds towards becoming a Shopify expert. And so having now reached the stage where we have products on our store, logically the next thing you want to do is to actually buy those products so I can show you the order process and how you're going to build up your customer base. But that unfortunately is where we run into the limitations of the free trial period. Let me show you what I mean. If I go over here to the site, scroll down, and let's just say I want to buy one of these necklaces. I'm going to click on shop now. And then I'm going to add to the cart. I know we haven't looked at this yet, but of course you understand the concept of adding to the cart. So let's add something to the cart. And then let's just go over here and view the cart. And then down the bottom here, I'm just going to check out. And here we go. Checkout isn't available. In order to enable checkout for your customers, you must pick a plan. Okay, so Shopify limits us, which is fair enough at this stage. We've had an enormous amount out of the free trial, but we can't actually buy anything from our store. So we can't actually set up a real business. Don't forget also that the store is protected by the password that I showed you earlier on. So only we can in fact see the store. So buying a plan, of course, is going to open up the store to the rest of the world. And it's also going to enable us to pick a really good domain name. So get away from this timecommerceexpert.myshopify.com, which, as I explained before, is a subdomain, which is fine during this free trial period, but you really can't build out a professional store with a domain such as that. And so it's for those reasons that we need to choose a Shopify plan. Firstly, so that I can show you the rest of Shopify and actually set up the store from A to Z. And secondly, so that you as a Shopify expert can really show off your skills properly. So welcome to this lecture where we're going to look at selecting a Shopify plan. And of course, we've been looking at this select a plan button the entire time we've been doing the course. So I suspect already that you've looked at these prices. So let's go now and have a look at them in a bit more detail. So let me click on select a plan. Now, before we get into this, I want to draw your attention to this statement here. Pick a plan when your free trial period ends, okay? There is no risk if Shopify isn't right for you. Cancel before, in this case, July the 3rd, and we won't charge you. So this is really important. If you buy a Shopify plan today, which I really recommend you do so that you can complete the rest of the course, but if you do that, you're not going to be charged until the end of your free trial period, which I believe is a really great offering from Shopify because it's effectively saying buy now, pay later. Okay, let's scroll down and actually look at these plans in a little bit more detail. So as you can see, there are three plans, the $29 per month, the $79 per month, and the $299 per month. And I want to say straight away that you definitely do not need the $299 per month. And in fact, even though it says most popular, you really don't need the $79 per month anyway. Okay, so I strongly suggest that you go straight away for the $29 per month because it really does give you everything you need to get started. But just to clarify, I do want to point out the differences, at least between the basic Shopify and the Shopify plan. So first off, the basic Shopify allows you to start selling your products online with your secure, beautiful store, blah, blah. Okay, so in other words, you can run a full-blown store with your basic Shopify plan. With the Shopify plan itself, you do get extra features like gift cards, all right? But really getting going, that is not 100% essential. Probably what's more important are the credit card rates. So you can see with the basic Shopify plan, they are charging a higher fee for their credit card rate. So what we're talking about here is when somebody buys something from your store, Shopify, in this instance, is going to take 2.2%. If we look over here, they're going to take 1.9%. Now, if you do the maths, it's something like $5,000 a month before it makes sense to only pay the 1.9% a month based on the fact with the basic Shopify you are paying less per month for the plan itself. Okay, so I hope that's not confusing and I hope you see what I mean. Now the other thing is the staff accounts. Here we get 2, here we get 5. Okay, again, that's absolutely fine to get going. The locations, we looked at that in the settings a long time ago, the physical locations where you might be managing your store from. Here we can add 4 and over here we can add 5. Again, definitely not a deal breaker at this stage. And finally, it's well worth noting that at any stage you can upgrade your plan. So if you were to take the 29 per month and then later on you decided that you wanted to switch to the 79, it's simply just the click of a button and you're on the 79. And if for any reason you wanted to go all the way to advanced Shopify, again, you can very easily do that as well, simply by going into your settings and changing your plan. So with all that said, what I'm going to do is click on choose this plan for the 29 a month. And it brings me to this screen where I just simply need to decide on the billing cycle. Now, in my opinion, it's not worth paying these higher fees up front straight away. Yes, you can make some small savings, but I feel that the flexibility of being charged once every 30 days and deciding how I want to go from there is far more advantageous. So I'm going to leave it simply on the 29 per month. Then I'm going to scroll down and I'm actually going to make this payment, and I'll see you in a moment once I'm done. Okay, I'm back. I've made the payment, so all I need to do now is click on Start Plan. And finally, that blue bar at the bottom has disappeared. Now, let's do a couple of things here before we move on, now that we've got a paying plan. The first thing I want to do is just remove that password protection so that everybody in the world can now see my site. So as I'm sure you remember, we need to go to Online Store and Preferences. And then we can either click on this button here, Disable Password, or we can scroll down here and just simply click this off. We can then save it. And here we go. Online Store is live. Your online store is now visible to customers. So we are good to go, which is super cool. The other thing I want to check out is, of course, the shopping cart, because before we couldn't actually buy anything from the store. So let's go back to where we were. And let's now this time click on Checkout again. Okay, I just left the cart as it was before. If we click on Checkout, this time we clearly see that the checkout is now enabled, so anybody can buy any of our products from our store. So the final thing we want to look at, of course, is this subdomain, this timecommerceexpert.myshopify.com, which, as I've been going on about, is not suitable for building out a real business. So what we need to do now is to select a proper domain name. So let's have a look at that in the next lecture. Okay, so as I said, in this lecture we're going to look at adding a domain to the store so we can really give it that final professional look and feel, and of course, as it says here, help customers find your online store, most importantly. So in order to do that, either we can click on Add Domain here, or just for completeness, because we were looking at it in the past, let's go to the online store and let's go down to Domains. So here's confirmation of our subdomain currently set up and currently connected. But what we want to do is to buy a new domain. So this would be the point where you need to decide on what your domain name is going to be, and then of course check and see if it's available. So for me, of course, I've been naming my store Daily Dog Delights throughout. So ideally, I hope that dailydogdelights.com will be available. So let's check that out now by simply typing in Daily Dog Delights into here, and as we can see, the .com is available, which is absolutely perfect. Now, just a note, just an aside, you should always try and go for the .com if possible. You can see all these other extensions are available. If you really can't find the .com, go for the .net. That would be the next one. But ideally, I would want to slightly change the name until I found the .com that did actually suit my store the best. And so logically, the thing I would do from here is to click on the buy button and actually go and buy this domain. But in fact, I'm not going to do that. And let me explain why. There is a limitation with buying domains through Shopify, which I don't think a lot of people realize. And that limitation relates to the email service that comes with Shopify, or in fact, the lack of email service that comes with Shopify. Because the problem with Shopify is that there isn't a proper email service included. All it does is it forwards your emails to your own personal email. So let me give you an example. If I were to register dailydogdelights.com, I could set up an email called info@dailydogdelights.com, and my customers from my site could contact me on that email. But what's going to happen is it's just going to be simply forwarded on to my personal email. So I'm going to get my emails, but then when I want to reply to my customers, it's coming from my personal email address, and I get into a right mess, and I really don't think that that's a very professional way to build out a long-term business. Now, it's entirely up to you. You can hit that buy button and be done with it. But I do want to show you what I think is the best way to set up a domain name and the email and then connect it back into your Shopify store. And in fact, you might have noticed this Connect Existing Domain button up here. And it's that functionality that I just want to draw your attention to. So what we're now going to do in the next lecture is go and buy our domain from another provider, a provider that can set us up with a real email service, a professional email service, and then we'll take that domain and connect it to our Shopify store. Now, I realize that might sound a bit confusing, but as ever, don't worry, I've got you back. All you need to do is just follow my lead. And I want to point out as well, this is a choice. As I said before, you can just go ahead and buy the domain here and be done, or you can buy it separately from another provider. But given that my job here is to turn you into a Shopify expert, I certainly think you should look at the two possibilities so that you can then decide for yourself. Okay, so first off, if you've registered your domain name with Shopify, then the next 4 lectures are not going to apply to you. So you can simply skip the next 4 lectures and go to the lecture where I talk about adding emails to the Contact Us page. But if you're still with me, that means that you're interested in setting up email in what I consider to be the correct way, which is with an external host. Now, this is pretty straightforward to do, and of course, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do step by step so you have absolutely nothing to worry about in the coming lectures. Now, in terms of cost, there is a small additional cost compared to doing it with Shopify, perhaps $1 or $2 per month, but I really consider that investment worthwhile to get it all set up in a more professional manner. So which external hosting company should you use from the probably tens of thousands of companies out there offering their services? Well, in my 20 plus years experience, I've probably seen the good, the bad and the ugly of several hundred, and there is one in particular that I use a lot, and I will recommend them to you in the next lecture. Now, before I do that, I do want to say that you can use any external host you want. If you've got your favorite, go for that. If you've got one that you're using already, then by all means use that as well. But if you want to take my recommendation, I can guarantee they're a very, very good company. Very, very fast. The support is excellent, which I think is something that a lot of people overlook, particularly when you get into problems. Super cheap hosting companies generally offer very poor support. So the support is excellent, and I can also get you a small discount on the hosting package itself. Okay, so if you clicked on the link in the previous lecture, you should be looking at a page like this. If you don't see it, then please go back and click on the link. Now, you might immediately see some kind of sales agent, Denise in this case today, but we don't need her because you've got me to show you exactly what you need to do. So let's just minimize Denise for the time being. And then what we want to do is to click on Web Hosting. Then from here, all you need to do is to scroll down to look at the various plans available. And we really only need the starter plan, okay, the cheapest one at $2.95 per month. And as you can see, there's also a 60-day money-back guarantee. So all I need to do then is simply click on Get Started. And so this is the point where we want to choose a domain name. So here I simply need to enter in my case, Daily Dog Delights, which we know is available, but just to check, let's click on the search. And sure enough, congratulations, it is available. So of course, if it isn't available for you, much like when we were looking at it within Shopify itself, you'll need to go back and choose a different domain until you find something that suits you best. Right, from here, all you then need to do is to fill in your account information, okay, your email, password, etc., your client information, and of course, the payment information. Now, the thing I want to draw your attention to most of all, though, is down here under Hosting Services. So first of all, make sure that you're choosing the location that is nearest to you, where you're basically going to be basing your business from. And also for the period, of course, the longer that you go for, the cheaper the monthly plan is going to be. And then finally, you may want to click off this domain name privacy. Of course, it's up to you, but domain name privacy simply means that your own personal details won't show up on the web, okay, within the public records. So if you want to hide them, then by all means go ahead and pay that extra, essentially $12 per year. But if you don't want to do that, then just take it off. It will come up with a warning. Click on Turn It Off. And then scroll down to the bottom of the page, where you see the final price. Now, a really important step at this stage, because as I said, I could get you a 7% discount. And in order to do that, you need to enter in a coupon code. And the coupon code is Success Today. Okay, all joined up, Success Today. Now, when I click on this apply button here, you're then going to see the price drop. So let me do that. The screen refreshes and you can see that it's applied the discount. Okay. After that, all you need to do is, of course, agree to the terms and conditions. And if you want to receive their offers by email, of course, go ahead and click that as well. Otherwise, you're all done. And all you need to do then is to click on complete order. So I'm going to fill in this form myself. And once I'm all done, I'm going to show you the next steps within TMD itself to show you how to set up the domain and the email in the professional way that I advise. Okay, so having bought your domain through TMD, you should be looking at a page like this. Now, just before I get going, I just want to draw your attention to the billing here in the menu. So if you're looking for your invoice, of course, that is where you're going to find it. So what we're going to be doing in this lecture is setting up email in TMD hosting so that you have a proper professional email service to run your business in the best possible way. So to get going, what I want you to do is click on Services and then to click on My Services. And that's going to bring you to a page like this. So you should see your domain name over here under Product and Service. And then all you need to do is click on Manage Product. And then from this page, just scroll down until you see this, the cPanel, okay, under one-click login. So click on cPanel. A bazillion icons pop up, but don't worry, we only need one of them. If you scroll down here to where you see email, all you need to do is click on Email Accounts. Now for you, this page will probably be empty. You won't have anything in it at all. Obviously, I have many domains and many businesses going on within this, so I'm seeing lots of domains, okay? But don't worry about that, because all I want you to do is to come over here and click on the Create button. And that brings us to the page where we can actually create our email account. So you should see your domain showing in here, so just like me here, Daily Dog Delights. And generally what I advise is that people create 3 email accounts, at least just to get started, which can be sales, billing, and inquiries. So in order to create the sales at email, all I need to do is to come down here into username and type sales, right? I'm going to create sales at dailydogdelights.com. From there, I need to choose a password. Now, probably the simplest and best way to do this is just to use the generate button here to give you a password, but please don't forget to note it down somewhere, okay? Because we're going to need it in a bit when I show you how to access your email. And that's basically all you need to do. You can leave all these defaults as they are and just click on the create button at the bottom here. And once the screen refreshes, you can see amongst my email accounts, I now have sales at dailydogdelights.com created. So I'm now going to go and do the other 2 emails, inquiries and billing. I don't think you need to watch me do that. I think it's very, very straightforward. I'm sure you grasped it already. And I'll see you back here in a moment once I'm all done. Okay, I'm back. And as you can see, I've created billing, inquiries, and of course, sales that we had before. So the next thing we want to do logically is see how we can actually access these emails so we can send and receive email in the future. So in order to do that, let's go back to the main TMD hosting area. We'll click on Services and before, go to My Services, click on Manage Product, just like we did only a few minutes ago. And then this time, scroll towards the bottom, down to that one-click login area again. Okay, last time we clicked on cPanel, this time we're going to click on Webmail. So here we go. Let's imagine now I want to access my sales at address. Okay, so I put in sales at dailydogdelights.com, and then of course enter the password and log in. Which brings you to this page, which when you access it for the first time looks a little bit messy. There's tons of stuff all over the place, but in fact all we need to do here is click on this round tube icon here, because that's going to connect us directly to the free webmail software. So just click on that. And there we go. Congratulations. You've set up your email account and you can now access it and read and send email in all the ways you would normally expect to run your business as professionally and as efficiently as possible. And so with that set up, let's have a look in the next lecture how we're going to connect the domain that we just bought through TMD to our Shopify store. So obviously at this point we bought our domain through TMD. We bought Daily Dog Delights through TMD, but it's not connected to our Shopify store, which means when I type in dailydogdelights.com, it does not bring up my Shopify store. So we need to fix that. And that's what we call connecting the domain, connecting the existing domain. And that's what I'm going to show you in this lecture. So of course you can see I've come straight down to domains, and now I'm going to click on Connect Existing Domain. And then what I need to do is to type in the domain that I bought. So dailydogdelights.com. and then click on Next. Now at this point we need to go through a few steps, so they're a little bit fiddly, but in fact they're very simple. And as ever, I've got your back. Just simply follow exactly what I do and you'll be absolutely fine. And in fact, to make life much easier, Shopify has provided us with some instructions. So if we click on View Instructions, we can see exactly what we need to do. So it brings you to documentation on connecting a domain, but I need you to just scroll down and find this bit here. Set up your existing domain to connect to Shopify. So you can see here it says if you purchase a domain through a third party, that's us, the third party of course being TMD, then you need to edit the following DNS settings. And then it says your A record should point to Shopify's IP address. Okay, it all sounds a little bit confusing, but really don't worry about it. In fact, just ignore all the technicalities, because the only thing I want you to do is simply to copy this little number here. And to do that, simply just click on the copy thing that they've provided for you. So once you've done that, that's now on the clipboard. So what we need to do now is to head back to our TMD hosting area. So here I am back in my TMD area. I'm going to go to Services and to My Services. Hopefully this is starting to get quite familiar now. Click on Manage Product as before. Go down to the now familiar one-click login area and click once again on cPanel. Now this time we're going to work our way through these zillions of icons until we see the zone editor, which is under domains. Okay, so domains are here, and here is our zone editor. So we'll click on zone editor, and this brings up the domains. Now once again I got a ton of domains in here, but you should probably only have the one. But you can see here my daily dog delights. So having got your domain, you want to go over here to the right hand side and click on manage. And then I want you to click on this little A, just the single A, okay? Filter all and then the A. So we click on this. And then from here, again, where you see the actual domain itself, scroll over to the right and click on this edit button. And this record here, this 198.20, etc. here for the moment, we're going to take that out and we're going to paste in that value that you took from the instructions. All right? And having done that, just simply click on Save Record. And then with that done, we want to head back to the instructions to go to the next step. So back on the instructions, we've just done that first one. Now we're going to have a look at this one, your www CNAME record, blah de blah de blah. Okay, don't worry about it. Once again, just take this part and copy it. Okay, so now you have shops.myshopify.com copied to your clipboard. So at this point, we want to head back to our TMD logging area. And this time we want to go to the CNAME. And then where you then see your domain, so the www, go over and edit that. Take out this record here. And this time paste in what you had, right? So shops.myshopify.com. And once again, just simply click on Save Record. And that is that. No more technical fiddly stuff to do. You are done. However, there is just one more thing we need to consider. So if we go back to the instructions and then just scroll down, you see this part here. We need to verify your connection in Shopify. In other words, we just need to do a check to make sure that everything we've done is correctly set up. Now, Shopify makes that nice and easy for us, because if we now head back to the store, you can see this button here, Verify Connection. Okay, we're back on our Connect Existing Domain screen that we started this journey on. We've been to the View Instructions, we've done all of that, and now all we need to do is click on Verify Connection to make sure we are all good. And sure enough, as you can see, everything went just perfect. So your domain, dailydogdelights.com, was successfully connected. Now, I would say if you ever have any problems with this, any issues, you're worried, you feel slightly overwhelmed or whatever it might be, just contact TMD support. One of my reasons for recommending these guys for your hosting is their amazing support. So any problems, get in contact with them and they will sort it out very quickly. So just as a final check, what we need to do now, of course, is check that dailydogdelights.com does in fact bring up our site. So let's do that right now. So let's go over to our site. Let's take out this old subdomain and put in dailydogdelights.com. And let's click on Enter. And sure enough, the site loads exactly as we would expect. The domain has all been properly set up. So now that you've got your domain and your email set up, in this lecture, I just want to draw your attention to a couple of things concerning your email. So you can see I've come straight in here to settings and general. And you remember before we had our store contact email, that's fine. That's the email address that Shopify will contact us. But over here, we have the customer email, the address that the customers are going to see when we email them. And you're going to see later on when I show you the order process that this email is going to be used to send out the notifications. So clearly we no longer want to have, at least in my case, tim@ecommercemindset.com as my customer email. What I now want to do is put in inquiries at dailydogdelights.com. Okay? And click on save. Oh, it wants me to add in a letter to my street because it's still a fictitious street. So let's just put in 123 Street, okay, just to keep it happy. And let's just click on save again. Okay, so that email has been updated. Now, there's a couple of other things that you need to think about as well. If we go to the online store and go to pages, you need to check and see that your old email address that may have featured in your privacy policy, your refund policy, and terms of service is also showing the new email address. And the last thing I suggest you do is in your Contact Us page, which hopefully now looks absolutely fantastic, you should add in those 3 email addresses, okay? Inquiries, sales, and billing, or indeed whatever you've chosen for your particular email addresses. And so with all that done, you are in a great place for your customers to be able to contact you whenever they wish. So in the last lecture in this section, I want to take the opportunity to talk about something called SSL, or Secure Sockets Layer. So what am I talking about, these kind of funny, weird names? Well, really all I'm talking about is internet security. And this is a question that's going to pop up at some point during your journey as a Shopify expert. Now the issue here is that when we are surfing a website, when we type in various bits of information, etc., there's an exchange with a server somewhere in the world. And so the information is being sent back and forth. And in order for that information not to get hacked or corrupted or anything like that, we want it to be passed back and forth in an encrypted format. Now you can imagine that this is particularly important for things like payment providers. So if we're putting in credit card information, for example, pressing on buy, that information is whizzing off somewhere, and we want to make sure that no unscrupulous hacker can get in between that and the server and steal those details. Now this is definitely something you don't need to understand the details of. I just want you to be aware of it. And in fact, I've got 2 good pieces of news for you. The first is that any payment provider will always be encrypting the information between their customers and themselves, so you have nothing to worry about there. So when somebody buys something from your site, you are completely covered. And the second piece of good news is that when we create a store on Shopify, in fact, everything is encrypted by default. We get what's called an HTTPS web address, which you can see here on my site. So I've got https://dailydogdelights.com. The S indicates it's secure. And you see the little padlock there? If I click on that, we get website identification, and you can see here your connection to the server is encrypted. In other words, this is a secure and trusted site thanks to the Shopify platform. So my takeaway from this lecture is if you ever get that kind of question, just come over here, point them to the fact that it's an HTTPS website, and show them the fact that connection to the server is completely encrypted. So in short, absolutely nothing to worry about.